Hey everybody, we are in one of my favorite places, and it is obviously in Florida. We are actually in Miami, in Brickell. I am sitting here with one of my favorite people, Harry Tapias. Harry Tapias is an immigration lawyer. He actually owns Loigica Immigration Law, and a lot of people come to me and say, Michael, well, how do I move to Florida? What do I do? And, you know, I can only answer certain questions. At the end of the day, you know, we got to leave it to the experts. So I wanted to bring Harry on today, and I wanted him to share, you know, his knowledge and guide us through the process. So when you are looking to move to Florida or anywhere in the United States, Harry and his team are able to help you. So Harry, thank you for your time.
Michael, it's a pleasure to have you here at my office, and it's really great to start making more inroads between our state of Florida and your hometown, Toronto, in Canada. It's really great to do this.
Thank you, thank you. So Harry and I go way back. Not only are we actually friends, Harry's actually working on my file as well. So not only are we here to discuss it, he's actually, I'm going through the process as well. And Harry, tell me about your law firm. I mean, originally when we met, you had what, 4 or 5 employees at that point? And this is going back maybe about 3 years ago?
Yeah, we only had a handful of employees, and since then we're now 45 employees.
That's impressive.
And we have several attorneys. Each attorney has a group of paralegals that work underneath them, and that allows us to really segment the market in terms of different visas that we're working on, investor visas like yours, or extraordinary abilities visas for others. And then each department gets its own attorney and its own set of paralegals.
Amazing. And I've just I've gone through it with Harry as well. He's been super attentive, so is his team. You know, they've been answering all my questions. I mean, they're very excessive into helping me understand the process. So let's just walk people through the process. Somebody comes to you and says, hey Harry, you know, I love the sunshine, I love the beaches, and you know, I want to get out of Canada and I want to move to the state of Florida. What generally is the process?
All right, well, first off, you know, folks from Canada, you're welcome to come to Florida. Please come, okay? Especially South Florida, which is the part that we're here, which is Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, but all the state of Florida is fantastic, so please do come. The process can be a bit daunting, and you want to talk to a professional like me, but I'll explain it. Essentially, if you're going to start a business in the United States, you need to have the proper permission, and that permission is called the visa. That visa typically will be an E2 investor visa. The E2 investor visa will allow a person who is investing money in their own business in the United States to be able to be here for at least 5 years, with the ability to extend it every 5 years. Now, Canadians come from a great country. You have a first world environment, and so many of you may not become permanent residents. You may just want to be here to be able to invest, and that's fine. This E2 visa is perfect for that. But people later on may want to get really comfortable, feel comfortable, and their children start going to school here, and we can help them with a permanent residency as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, I mean, there's definitely a process to go through. As Harry stated, your visa generally is between 3 to 5 years. Then you would have to renew it.
Every 5 years, yeah.
Is there a minimum that you have to invest if you wanted to come here with the investor visa?
Yeah, with the investor visa, the law doesn't prescribe a set dollar amount. It says that the investment must be substantial and the business has to be non-marginal. What does that mean? Substantial means that relative to the business, you need to bring enough money for this business to carry itself. Okay. Rule of thumb: about $100,000 to $150,000 USD that you want to put into your own business and show that the money was actually spent. You know, you want to show invoices that the money was spent in the United States. Okay. Now, marginality talks about that the business has to demonstrate that it can make more than just a basic income for the investor. So what we want to do is work with you, with the investor, to create a business plan to show that this business is not just a basic business, but that it has the ability to grow. And the United States is essentially inviting Canadians and other people from other countries to put their money here because our economy is great. We have a lot of opportunities, so we're inviting you to put your money here, and that's what that visa is for.
Okay. People ask me as well, they're like, Michael, what if I bought a house? Does that qualify for an investor visa? Since I'm technically investing in a property in Florida,
right,
can I get a visa and stay here?
Yeah, I get that question very often. And actually the question is two parts. Can I buy my big beautiful mansion and have my big beautiful Mercedes, my AMG? Well, all right, that by itself is not sufficient to qualify for the E2 visa. Now, the house may be worth $1 million, $1.5 million, maybe more. The car is definitely worth maybe $150,000, but that in itself does not create an enterprise. The E2 visa, the goal is that you're going to invest in a business, your own business, and that you have the potential of actually creating employment for Americans, right? So in exchange of you creating this economic impact through this business, the United States gives the person from the other country that 5-year visa, right? So yes, you can have your house, you can have your car, but that in itself is not part of the investment itself. So think about more of the investment being, the structure of the business. I have to buy materials from Ohio or from California or from Florida. I need to invest in maybe 1 or 2 employees. That's how you have to think about it. Think about enterprise, not just about how well you're going to be living. But I promise you, you'll be living well.
Oh yeah, no, Florida's amazing. I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard me talk about it. People probably think I'm crazy because all I do is talk about Florida, this, Florida, that. So in order for you to come here, you would have to invest up to between 100 to say 150 minimum.
Minimum, yeah.
You would be creating jobs, which would be creating opportunities for Americans that live here. You're also going to be paying taxes here. So it stimulates the economy. So this is why you're investing that money, and then you'll be granted, based on obviously what the business is, and you walk them through that, be granted hopefully a investor visa.
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing up is a good point, which is it's the exchange that the United States is doing with investors from Canada.
That's exactly what it is.
The exchange is that we give you a great market to put your money in, right? And then and then you get that 5-year visa, and hopefully you're making more money here than the opportunities that are locally available in Toronto or Vancouver, wherever it is that you're living. That's the idea. But of course, you need to be an entrepreneur too.
Absolutely.
Right? The laws here will protect you. We have a great judicial system, and of course, you'll come into conflicts every once in a while. But you can rely on a really great judicial system to back you up. Right? So that aside, now you have to be a good entrepreneur. You have to, be intelligent, surround yourself with capable people like you're doing, working with me, working with accountants.
Absolutely.
You want to get that team of people around you who will guide you.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole focus of doing this interview is because, like I said, I'd say every week somebody reaches out to me and say, Michael, I want to move, or what are the processes? And we wanted to educate you guys to understand how to do it properly. Because sometimes you may get mixed information from a friend, a relative, even a lawyer that's not necessarily doing immigration law, and then you might not go on the right path. So Harry and his team will be able to guide you through the process. I understand we discussed the E2 investor visa, but what other types of visas are out there that people may want to get, or maybe they would qualify for?
Yeah, well, the E2 investor visa is a non-immigrant visa, which means it has limits. It has a limit of 5 years. Every 5 years, so long as your business is successful, you're going to request an extension on it. You get it every 5 years. But what if you want to become a permanent resident, right? So that way you're not asking for that 5-year extension when that time comes up.
People do ask me that. They're like, will I get a green card?
The green card is permanent residency, meaning that you're choosing to live here at least 6 months a year in the United States, right? And that's great. That's because they love where they live. They want to be here. They want to make sure their kids are here permanently without having to have that concern of always having to ask for an extension of visas. So there's three ideal ways. There's more ways, but there's 3 ideal ways. Okay. One way is that while they're on E2, that the investor consider going for the EB5 investor visa.
What is that?
So EB, when you hear EB, think of employment based.
Got it.
Okay. E2, which is a non-immigrant visa, is a like an entrepreneur visa. Okay? But employment-based means the following. EB5 means that if you invest at least $800,000 in a pre-approved project, think of a huge mall or a tower where condos are being built. If you can invest $800,000, that money will be used to employ 10 people for 2 years. But this money will go into a fund with other money from other foreigners too, coming from say Europe or coming from Latin America, many coming from Russia as well. All this money is pooled together, and then a huge building like a tower it will be built. Because you invested that $800,000, the investor gets the money. The investor gets the green card. The spouse gets the green card, and all the children under 21 get a green card. Okay.
Okay. So if you're doing a development project or you're looking at some sort of construction-based business,
right?
And you're putting in $800,000, would that be collectively, or that would be yourself?
Yeah, it would be your $800,000 pooled with probably 100 or 200 other investors, right? So you're kind of putting this money into a fund where that money then goes to employ 10 Americans per each tranche of funding. So let's say you have 100 investors, each put in $800,000. Each $800,000 will equate to 10 American jobs.
Right. That's right.
So the United States says, well, bring your wealth here, help us create jobs, and we'll give you permanent residency.
I understand.
Now, most of these projects are pre-approved by the government. Well, actually, they're all pre-approved. They have the right to collect these funds. And they will make sure that 10 people get employed for that 2-year period to ensure that you get your green card. It's a lucrative business for the project managers, but it's also very lucrative for the person receiving the green card because of the value of the lifetime value. Typically, after 5 years, that money gets returned to the investor with a low interest rate of return, right? But think about it as getting your money back and also getting the green card forever.
Right.
So that's one way. That's EB5.
Right.
Can I talk to you about 2 other ones?
Yeah, please.
All right. Okay. Now we're going to talk about EB2, employment-based category number 2. Okay. EB2, you can get a green card if you're a person with an advanced degree. Like let's say, for example, you got a master's in marketing or something like that, or you have a bachelor's and 5 years of experience. If you can meet that criteria, master's or the bachelor's with experience, and you have a business plan or just a plan where you think that by developing it in the United States, it will be beneficial to the country, that's called it's called an endeavor. If you have an endeavor that you think that will be of national interest to the United States, we can help you get this green card. Because what we're saying to the country to the United States is that not only are you highly educated, but your presence here is of national interest. And then by doing so, right, you're not really investing money, but you're saying I'm bringing all my knowledge and skill set to better the country.
Right,
and that can be in the world of finance, that could be in the world of nonprofits, it could be a variety of things. First, the question is, do I have the education or the advanced education? And then we can discuss it. So that will free up funds for you to buy that beautiful house you want to buy. Right? Because you say, I get my green card, I don't have to put money in. Instead, I'll put that money in towards buying my house.
Right.
So that's another way. That's EB2. So I just went from EB5
to EB2.
It's called EB2 National Interest Waiver. And the last ideal way is called the Permanent Labor Certification.
What is that?
Yeah. So this one depends on a third-party employer. Okay? So the way this works is that an employer says, well, I like you very much. I want you to be here permanently. I'm going to get you a green card. But it's an American employer saying this. Now, the American employer could be a company owned by people from Germany or people from Canada. That's interesting, right? But it has to be an American company that says, I want you. You're from Canada. You have a certain skill set. I want to keep you here permanently. Right. This process takes a while. It takes about 1.5 years, but you can get a green card through that. The only problem with it is that you're now depending on an employer and that employer's whims and desires throughout the process. Because if in the middle, the employer says, hey, you know what? The market changed. I can't move forward.
So basically what you're saying is if the employer says, well, we no longer need you, or I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go, because it does happen. unfortunately, you're not legally allowed to stay here in the United States.
That could be one way,
right?
Or the other way could be that they just say, we lost a major client, right?
Right.
Now,
right.
that doesn't typically happen over the last 10 years that I've been working on these cases.
Right.
That doesn't typically happen. It can happen, but I'm just saying that there's a difference between having a case where you're completely controlling it yourself versus a case that you're essentially depending on an employer. If you can control it because you have the money through EB-5, or you can control it because you have the education through EB-2, national interest waiver, those are better. But last, the permanent labor certification is a great option if you have a good, excuse me, if you have a good relationship with your employer.
Right. Last question. So people reach out to me all the time, especially realtors, say, well, Michael, you got licensed in the state of Florida. I want to be licensed in the state of Florida. I want to move. Can they just get their real estate license and start working?
All right. No. They can get their license, but they cannot start working, right? So even as a lawyer, you could be a Canadian student, go to law school in the United States, and get a license in Florida or any.
But you can't write the exam. You have to have a social here.
Well, let me explain.
Yeah.
You can get that license to practice law,
right?
But you don't have the right to work in the United States.
Right.
So hypothetically, if you're educated in the United States as a lawyer or as a real estate agent, you can practice from your home in Toronto, but you can't practice in the United States.
Right.
That's where immigration law comes in.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
Immigration law says you have to ask for the proper visa so you can be here, because the worst case scenario is that you start working off the cuff without really planning the right visa. The United States discovers it, and then you forgo all your future opportunities, right? And then you can't get that Social Security number, which is essentially a number that will help you collect funds for your own retirement through the government. It also is so important for building your credit history.
Absolutely.
It's so important, right?
Absolutely.
So you forgo all those opportunities because you violated these laws, or you just kind of were very cavalier about the laws. So the United States really want people who are honest, follow the rules, and the opportunities will come.
Absolutely. I mean, I did. I wrote I went to the real estate school when I was getting my license, but they said, well, hey, we can train you, but when writing the exam, if you don't have a Social Security, you can't write the exam.
Okay.
So that's
that's interesting.
So that's kind of what it was. I mean, because technically you need to have it to be legally to write the exam so you can practice real estate here.
Yeah, I suppose that is a barrier that the industry is putting.
Yes.
To maybe whittle down the number of real estate agents coming out.
Absolutely.
That's possible. I don't know that that's like a legal requirement, but I understand that as an industry they need to protect themselves, and they probably put that out there. So
yeah.
So I would say you want to get that if you have that E2 investor visa, for example, they can't prevent you
Absolutely.
taking that test.
Yeah, because you're legally here.
You're legally allowed to work.
Correct.
Whether you're working as a CEO or you're working as in any other function, right? And you don't have to be a CEO. You can just be your own entrepreneur. Whatever realm you're working in, you're working lawfully. That's important.
Absolutely.
You can be here lawfully as a tourist, and you can spend all your money in the United States. You're welcome to spend all your money in the United States, but you're not welcome to work unless you have that proper visa.
That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to follow the procedures. People always also ask, how long is the process? So if I want to get an investor visa, how long is the process? Is it a year and a half? Is it 6 months? Like, how long will it take for me to be allowed to be here legally?
Yeah.
And work?
So with the E2 visa, that's one of the more faster visas out there. Okay. What takes time is the investor figuring out what exactly they're going to invest in, right? So they have to decide, well, am I going to invest in buying multiple homes and renting them out, or am I going to invest in a franchise that I really like? So that time in trying to figure out what it is that you want to invest in is probably what takes the most time. Once you've decided, right, and of course you're choosing something that's lawful. I wouldn't recommend that you go necessarily with businesses in vice areas, right? Whether it's gambling or something like that,
right?
Because different states might have different rules.
Right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So I would say stay in the mainstream. That's best. And so you do that. Once you have that business, You come to me, and then I help you prepare the legal arguments as to why your business has already received substantial investment, why the business is not a non-marginal business, why it is that it actually has the potential to grow over the next 3 to 5 years, right? So these are all the things that the officer in the consulate, the American officer in Toronto or in Ottawa, they want to see this. They want to say, okay, show me this is a good business. Convince me you met all the elements, and I will give you this visa.
Makes sense.
How long will that take? Once you've decided, I would say somewhere between 2 to 3 months, sometimes a little longer in gathering information, right? But we want to make sure that before we say this case is ready, that we've got everything. If I'm short on some information and the client is pushing to get it out, I want to push back and say, for your own good, right? And for my reputation, let's give this 2 more weeks so we get all the information we need so we have a winning case.
Makes sense. And I think it's also important to understand, guys, what you want to do here, because it's going to help, or it's going to allow Harry and his team help you, get this process done, in a timely fashion. Because they can't decide what you want to do. You guys have to do that, but they'll guide you to make sure that it's done properly.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Correct.
That's wonderful. And discussing, everybody wants to discuss fees. I know you have different packages that you offer your clients based on their needs.
Yeah, we have three packages that helps people figure out their budget, right? So we have our high end, which is called the diamond. Then we have our middle range, which we call platinum, and then our gold. Okay, so all these three are high value materials or metals, right? The point is that you're going to get approved no matter what package you go with. The difference is that people who want to go with diamond are giving me all the responsibility of collecting a lot of information, of generating things that it may be easier for you to get, but you don't have time to do, right? So for example, preparing a business plan, that takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, making sure that's properly done. That could be delegated to the client, but sometimes they want the attorney to take care because you know what? You're really busy. Right?
Absolutely.
But sometimes you have a budget, right? And going from Canadian dollars to US dollars, it can be quite an expensive change as well, right? So you may want to go with a lower budget and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and help the attorney gather his information so that all he has to do is just focus on the strategy and the arguments. So we'll give these different packages so that one will eventually fit your budget.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Harry had mentioned also anybody going through us, when you do reach out, they will give you a free consultation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They're coming through you, free consultation.
Okay, wonderful. So I know if you call other lawyers, I know there's always a fee associated, but out of courtesy to us, Harry and his team has offered to do a free consultation so they can outline and discuss any questions that you may have. And Harry, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
you so much.
Appreciate it.
And guys, remember, it's better in the sun.